Welcome to This Week in Sonar. I'm Craig Fuller here with Zach Strickland. Zach, it's been a year and some change since you and I did This Week in Sonar. What a year it has been. Glad to have you back. We've got an exciting release coming up this weekend. Talk a little bit about what we are putting into Sonar that we think is going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it's good to be back doing these again. We've got a brand new index, some data that's going into Sonar this week, and it's a pretty relevant one in my opinion, like one of the more relevant ones that we've put in a while, and it's the Intermodal Cost Savings Index. So it's comparing the cost of shipping something intermodal all in with something shipping on truckload and van.
And that's on a per mile basis, so it's got a lot of value when you're comparing what the routing. It also seems that this is good for not only just costing, but understanding what it costs to cut your carbon emissions and move freight through a more sustainable mode of traffic.
Yeah, so I mean, what they did was they compared the exact same lanes to each other, and it is derived into a percentage savings index because, as we know, the whole length of haul generally intermodal is cheaper than hauling at truckload because of the efficiencies on the rail, et cetera. But we've taken the all-in rate, so some of this, does include some of that drayage cost as well involved in the moves if they do include that in the move. So overall, in aggregate, it looks really clean in the way that the relationship between the cost of shipping something on a truck versus on the rail moves kind of the way that you would think it would almost. But over time, some of these savings do contract quite a bit.
And this is based on contract shipments. So a couple of months ago, we announced that we had 20 billion of annual contract rate data coming across from 300 different shippers. This is based on the same sets of data, but comparing intermodal to truck on a contract basis, which I think is really important because just getting it on spot, particularly for people that are shipping, a lot of intermodal tends to be contract freight more so than it does spot. This is an important indicator for that.
Exactly. So fully contracted comparisons here. So these are going to be your long-term rate agreements. Something to note is that there is a little bit of a difference in the way that we organize this one versus the the raw data and Sonar with the intermodal contract and band contract rate indexes that we have in there. We compared this in the all-inclusive segment because the fuel, yeah, it's a little bit cheaper on the intermodal side, but if you really want a true comparison in terms of your cost savings or potential savings, you need to compare the fuel for both modes. So we went all in to compare these to give a lot cleaner result.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you've got the dray portion on the front end, you've got the rail traffic or the intermodal section when it's on the rails, to the dray on the back end, the last final mile, if you will. And so I think all of that is an important element of what the cost of moving cargo through intermodal actually represents. Now, an important point to touch on is the fact that there have been published reports that show intermodal cost differences and deltas. This data is updated daily based on the data that flows into our contract database.
Yes, it's updated daily, but there is a 14 or 2 week lag on the initial report because we have to give time for the invoices to come in and get cleared. We all know that there's a payment cycle involved here, but we also included it for a 7 week or cycle as well, and that is to make sure that we get the most complete version. So the initial report after 2 weeks gives you a really quick directional view of where contracted rates or where the difference is going to be moving. So you don't have to wait around for 2 months to get that information. And now you also have, a more complete view where you have the majority of the invoices have been cleared and reported after the 7 week period. So there is a 2 week and a 7 week data point available.
Yeah, these are actual billing invoices. So you're getting the invoices from customer data for shipper-oriented transactions. So a little bit more relevant, I think, to intermodal than just comparing spot rates, because spot rates don't give you a contract-centric point of view, which tends to be the life of the intermodal traffic. It's going to be interesting to watch how this correlates to other factors in the market, including spot demand, because when you do see the intermodal market tighten up, that puts a lot of freight back onto truck. And when there's a lot of freight back on truck, that drives up spot rates, and off we go into the blue yonder of bullish factors and up and to the right. Zach, this has been fun to be back. We'll see more releases coming up over the next couple of weeks, so tune in to This Week in Sonar. It's just a short couple-minute conversation about data or features that are being released on the Sonar platform.